Okay, well, it's just about 10 o'clock here, everybody. Good morning once again, and welcome everybody to the AllTerra Central and the LTI webinar, documenting pole audit inspection and measurement best practices. This is Nick Ackerson. I'm the Director of North American Sales for Laser Tech. Just to cover a couple of housekeeping items, we should all be experts at this by now, but just to cover that really quick, all participants are automatically muted by the presenter. If you have questions, please use the chat or the raise your hand icon. This webinar will be recorded. The presentation will be available in the dealer portal. For questions about that at the end of the presentation, you may please ask then. Poll questions using a QR code reader with your cell phone cameras. And then finally, tell us how we did in the follow-up survey at the end. Okay, so to begin, I'd like to introduce our panel of speakers today. Steve Colburn has been with Laser Tech for over 20 years. He's a surveyor and a geologist by academics, and he was instrumental in getting the professional measurement division of LTI going, and has served in positions such as regional manager, director of sales. Now his in-depth and breadth of knowledge is being used to the highest degree as the application training specialist for LTI. Next, we have Derek Rash. He's the senior product manager for the professional measurement division and has been with LTI for 20 years. He possesses in-depth, keen, and intimate knowledge of all laser technologies, products, and solutions. Next, we have Noah Ward. He's an MGIS sales representative at AllTerra Central, serving the North Texas and Oklahoma territories. With 8 years professional experience in GIS-oriented roles, Noah specializes in providing geospatial mapping solutions, support, and training to a wide variety of industries, including local government, engineering, environmental, oil and gas, electric, telecom, as well as many others. Next, we have Albert Garcia. He has been in survey and mapping arena for a little over 1 decade. As a solutions provider to the geospatial industry, he strives to make companies more efficient with the tools that LTI and AllTerra have to offer. His passion lies within the mapping and GIS realm of positioning, and he has quickly found great success with LTI's professional measurement solutions. Finally, to round out the panel is Allison Alford. She started her GPS GIS career in 1996 with Western Data Systems, now AllTerra Central in Houston, Texas. She has been involved with GPS sales, training, and technical support since that time. Allison has worked in various industries assisting end users to find the best method for collecting their field data for building and maintaining their GIS. She's always enjoyed her time in the field, learning new industries and finding new ways to help customers capture quality data. And at this time, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Albert Garcia of AllTerra Central.
Thank you, Nick. For you that are questioning what AllTerra is, we're a Trimble authorized dealer that specializes in survey, mapping, and marine equipment. Along with that, we have other vertical markets such as LTI that we like to present as solutions to our customers. And the whole goal of what we're trying to do is to make you more efficient and more productive on your work sites. We have 8 offices total, 6 in the Texas arena and 1 in Oklahoma City, and our newest office out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is our team of highly qualified geospatial experts, whether it's from our operations team to our shipping and receiving team and our service centers. We also have a team of highly dedicated and motivated sales force that are willing to go out and meet you and show you the products that we have to offer.
Right, thanks, Albert. A little bit about Laser Tech. Laser Technology has been in business for over 35 years. We were the first company to pioneer and invent the first handheld reflectorless total station, being one of our many accomplishments. We have superior service and support and pride ourselves on keeping our customers happy. We continue to shatter new horizons in the development of new measurement products and new technologies with a rich patent portfolio we are quite proud of. And finally, LTI is in over 90 countries across the globe, utilizing an extensive dealer network to supply end users with our products and our solutions. Okay, just a quick review of the agenda. We're going to be taking you on a journey covering pole audit and joint use, what's needed and what equipment you can use to successfully conduct a pole audit. We will cover measurement values, field experiences, laser measurement routines, the products involved in doing such, how to document it, and how GPS receivers work with laser offsets. And now I'm going to turn it over to the experts. Derek?
Thanks, Nick. Apologize on that delay there. I was unmuting myself. So yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. We're going to turn it over to the experts. It's going to be more like a conversation piece today, talking with everybody. I really do thank everybody being here, and also the panel we have. We've got some experts, some people that know what they're doing in the field and understand the marketplace and understand our applications. So, just what is joint use? Just by definition, common utility practice to use the same set of utility poles for the placement of assets, communication, power, etc. And I want to turn it over to the AllTerra team and just kind of give, if you guys don't mind, just giving just a brief overview of, joint use or pole audit. So I'll just go ahead and turn it over to the team right now.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. So for pole audits, it's basically when you want to go out and verify the attachments to a pole, whether you're checking for regulations and making sure that you're within compliance before you affix your attachment, or you're going out and double checking anything that the NESC may have regulations on, just to protect yourself when you do go out and put your fiber onto the pole or whatever services that it may be.
Right, and it may be the owners of the pole checking the engineering, making sure that the structure itself is going to be able to handle these. Typically on wood poles, they do a lot of that type of work as well. And it's all about where to put these things to maintain the structural integrity of the pole. Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, let's kind of dive a little more deeper into it then too. Kind of briefly talked about that. So can you explain a little bit more? You talked about regulations and stuff and violations, but why are these joint use audits needed?
So on the requirement for those joint uses, it's really, some of those things we touched on, verifying and managing your assets, what is actually attached to your poles. Are they within the regulations that we're looking for? And then just, making sure that their appropriate fees are paid when there is joint use on those poles. And then primarily, the safety aspect of it, making sure we've got proper clearances in the areas that we need and are properly protecting the areas that our services go through.
Right, big safety thing, keeping track of those space management, spacing between facilities.
Right. So how often or when are these audits performed?
So I want to say the NESC has a regulation of every 5 years. Of course, it could always be at the pole owner's discretion of when they want to go out and do their own audits, just to make sure they're within compliance themselves. Nobody wants to be attacked with any violations right now. And again, subcontractors are going out there and performing these audits.
Exactly. Yeah. Who are doing these? Subcontractors, the utility company owners.
Right. Could be any number of agencies, the owners, the comm companies, a contractor for either one. Could be a municipality or something, an engineering company. Yeah.
So a lot of things. I think the main goal, like you guys are talking about, is get accurate measurements and the safety factor. Also, just eliminate going back out to that field. It sounds like. So the next thing we want to do is kind of roll into we want to get some feedback from everybody attending. So we've got this poll question, and so if you're able to just go ahead and use your QR code reader or your camera on your smart device, and just go ahead and pop that up there and answer the questions. It should launch a browser so that you can answer the question in, and we'll see if we can take a look at it, see live here, if we're able to actually see some feedback. But any feedback you guys are able to give us is great. So again, really appreciate the team. One thing we forgot to mention is ask questions during any time. Like we have a panel here that will, take your questions. Go ahead and use that hand up or use the chat feature, ask those questions. Our panel's watching that. So if a question comes up, we want to check that out see if we can answer that on the fly. So let's see if we've got any poll questions here. Let's see if I've open up the right one. Let's see if we got anything coming through. Looks like that might not be the right one. Let me check real quick. Yep, that's the right one. Maybe I went a little too fast on there, but we'll keep that up here. See if that works. But we do have a couple more poll questions coming up. So if you're able to answer that, that'd be great to help us out. Or if you watch the recording, if you can do that at that time, we'll have this all going. As we continue forward, you guys talked about all the different kind of measurements that might be needed with this application. And so we want to kind of put a picture to the description. So I'm going to turn it back over to the AllTerra team and talk about different values that do need to be captured. And have a diagram to go along with that.
Yeah, so as Derek mentioned, this is kind of just putting a visual perspective to some of the common measurements that go into these pole audits or use with these LTI products. So height values is a very important aspect of that. Your typical power pole setup, you've kind of got these different spaces that separate the different services. Up top with our supply space commonly, where power is actually being sent through. Dropping down to a neutral space and then bringing in our communication space and making sure that we have proper clearance between those different divisions there. So you can see visually here on this diagram, starting, even the line separation between your supply space and your communication spaces from those attachment points, measuring from the ground up to these different levels of attachments. Up to our transformer there, up to our line that's kind of our offshoot of our tap there going over the road, and being able to record and get repeatable results with those LTI products coming in. And then another common one of the audit side of things is going to be your span values. So between poles and towers going through, directly distance to be able to calculate the requirements of the line that's needed, that goes into your SAG calculations and making sure that's properly accounted for. And then the all-important clearance values, proper clearance between roadways, making sure with trees and vegetation that you've got the proper right-of-way and clearance there for your lines to go through. As we talked about, the clearance values between the different spaces, the communication and the supply spaces, and again, going back to not only the regulation side but the safety side. Verifying that there is safe travel and there's going to be no interference that can cause any danger from those lines running through.
Yeah. So what I think you briefly mentioned a little bit, but what's some of the equipment they're using to take these measurements or to get these values?
Yeah, so commonly things you'll run into or that we've seen a lot is, there's different terms for height stick, hasting stick, hot stick that's got a measurement on there. You can see in the image there running that hasting sticks with basically a height measurement. And then for some of those span measurements outside of what you can do with the LTI products, you'd see a measuring wheel, and so it's a lot more physical process compared to utilizing the rangefinder applications. You're basically physically walking up and touching every single pole with that hasting sticks, measuring up to the different attachment points, and then recording that. Typically handwritten. And then even on the span side, literally walking from pole to pole, making sure that you've calibrated that wheel to start over and getting those measurements coming through. So those are probably two of the most common ones we've seen. Some of the challenges is having the proper gear like that hasting sticks that can, there's no risk of any shock or anything like that coming through that rod. A lot of these aren't super durable products, so they can break easily. And as I mentioned, that calibration side of things, in tougher environments, high winds or inclement weather, lugging that stick around, trying to get it up to the attachment point without it being affected by the weather can be challenging and can also be dangerous. And having a good point of view to be able to see where you're attaching that stick to get the proper measurements. And then, on the span side of things, if you've got uneven or rough terrain or obstacles that are blocking you from walking directly from one pole to another, that can definitely affect the accuracy of your measurements coming through. So, overall, that's kind of, a widely use of products to get those measurements and some of the challenges that go in them.
Hey, Noah, don't these things typically require a two-person crew as well? Like that guy holding that rod there, he's not going to be able to see when exactly he might be touching that point, 30, 40 feet up. So you got to have a spotter and somebody to handwrite the notes and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you've got more resources dedicated to that audit, and just managing, trying to read the proper measurements coming through, communicating that to your other personnel, getting that into a written note that you then have to manage and make sure it goes all the way through. So, it's definitely, there's a lot of resources that go into that, making sure to try to get the accuracy that you need out of it to, really document it well.
Yeah, and along those lines, I could just imagine the inaccuracy of the data that's coming in from manual entries as well. So going on to our next slide is all of this goes hand in hand with doing the job efficiently and safely. I can't stress the safety importance of this enough. I've seen those hasting rods all the way stretched out, and they're on a windy day. If you tried to shove this thing into the power grid that you see on the left-hand picture, you're not going to have a very fun day. It's going to be extremely difficult to make sure you're getting all those attachments. What we would prefer to do, like on the picture on the right, is put you in a safe environment away from the road and actually use the devices that we can present for you to quickly and efficiently get your measurements there. We talk about safety on, let's go back to the clearance slide. One day I happened to be going to work and there's a box truck in front of me that was just a normal box truck, and had somebody check the sag of that clearance value going across the road, we would have eliminated a fire in somebody's home. So when that truck hit the wire, it actually caused a spark in the control panel, and I was able to get out of the truck and go knock on their door and let them know, hey, your house is on fire. They were quickly able to react there.
I've got a story too about a manual method we didn't talk about, but I actually saw a bucket truck parked, I think it was the electric company, parked in an intersection, so they had to close off a lane, and they went up with a bucket truck guy with a tape measure. Had to, hold the top of the tape measure up by the conductor and lower it down to the ground just to measure a clearance. I mean,
no.
Safety, obstructing traffic, the whole deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and even to expand on that, I mean, just the digital acquisition of those records too, combined with that setup you kind of see there on the right. So not only in the field safety, but being able to manage those assets as they come through and prioritize any poles that are out of regulation, so that you can properly, direct your resources to correct those instances and get them is a huge factor on that side of it as well.
No, that's great stuff, guys. Really appreciate your field experience, what you're seeing out there in the marketplace, and how people are doing this. And so we want to do is take the next few slides here and talk about laser measurement routines. Talk about other ways to capture those values. If you're not familiar with our laser rangefinders, we have these models. The laser sensor gives us our distance. We get a line of sight distance to almost any type of object, especially like conductor lines. I mean, we can hit those quite a ways away, so we don't have any trouble getting those conductor lines. And also built in is a tilt sensor. With that tilt sensor, it gives us our inclination value, which I'll show you here in another diagram. So we get our different angles, our vertical angles. Different models we do have. We have a compass sensor built in, so now we're able to measure azimuth or direction. So we're able to get those values also within our laser rangefinders here. And then if we also have other devices that measure that. We have an angle sensor. So we can also still get that horizontal angle with that in case a compass is affected by any magnetic interferences. We have other devices. So we have a lot of different models that'll fit for your application. What's that look like? I talked about what the measurements are, what our laser sensor does. Well, laser does slope distance or line of sight distance. So you can see that here with the diagram, and our tilt sensor does inclination degree. Then we have our compass sensor, the AZ value. Now with the press of the fire button, the unit will measure all those different values. And with those values, we're able to calculate that vertical distance or that horizontal distance. So this is what it looks like in that diagram of taking those different measurements with our units. The different models we have, we've got a True Pulse 200 series models. So you've got a True Pulse 200. You can see the range accuracy here down to plus or minus 8 inches. And then our 200X, which is very popular in this marketplace for this application because of the range accuracy. You can see plus or minus 1.5 inches. These instruments do have Bluetooth built on board, as you can see. So you've got wireless communication, but also wired communication too. If you still need a RS-232 to download all those values into any apps and any different software solutions. When we incorporate the compass into the models, we've got our True Pulse 360 series. The unit on the left is our ruggedized unit. You can see the accuracies of these two models are the same. You just configure it, it's two different configurations. You've got a kind of a horizontal or binocular style configuration or the vertical. It just all depends on what you like the best with that unit. Or if you're in places where you need that waterproof ruggedized unit, that's that True Pulse 360R. Another unit we have is called the TruePoint 200H. This laser will measure distances and inclination. Now, we've been talking about a certain technology, measurement technology called pulse. It does not need a reflector, can get measurements to almost any type of object. But with this unit, we've taken that pulse technology, and we also have we incorporated a phase module in it too. It's kind of like your laser distance meter, or it is your laser distance meter. So it's got a laser pointer, and you can see the accuracies with this unit. It's got two different ways. You've got a LED display and a heads-up display, so you can look at that, very bright, and use. You can see the range is now less than the True Pulse series, but that's where we maintain that high accuracy. So if you need the higher accuracy unit, this is the TruePoint 200H that kind of fits in that area. This unit also has BLE so communicates seamlessly with iOS devices. And I mentioned using a device for if there was magnetic interferences that might affect a compass with our True Pulse 360 models. What we have here is taking our 200X and incorporate it with a true angle. So we're still able to get 3D measurements. You get that horizontal distance value with that. And you can see the accuracies with this unit, kind of like almost like a little mini total station set with this unit here. Now, not only can we take, talked about distances and angles that we're able to measure, but we have some onboard routines, and Steve's going to walk us through the different routines we have on board to take all these different measurement values that we've been talking about.
Yeah, so if you remember back when NOAA was going through the different data they typically need to collect for an audit, one of the critical ones was the height, HOAs, they typically call them, height of attachment. And the 3-shot height routine we have on our lasers works perfect for that. The first shot is going to be a horizontal distance to the pole. These foam poles, really no matter what they're made out of, are nice and upright and straight, right? Nice and vertical. So your first shot is the horizontal distance. That means you can measure it anywhere on the pole. If the base or some top or wherever you want to shoot is obscured, just pick another spot and you can get that good horizontal distance. The next shot then is to your base angle. And here we're not firing the laser at all. So it's really just a visual shot. So again, if it's obscured by grass or something, you can kind of look around the general area, get a good feel for where that base is, and take the measurement there, just pointing at it. So then the third shot is your critical one. That's going to give you your height value. Here we've gone to the top of the pole first. That'll give you your total pole height, and that'll spit right out Bluetooth to your data collection form, and you've got that captured right away. So these, will give you the accuracies that we talked about relative to the instruments. So then one nice thing we've incorporated into the firmware on all the lasers is the ability to kind of hold that shot 1, shot 2 in memory, and you just back up with a keystroke and you're just reshooting that top angle each time, right? So you can just work your way down the pole and just taking that new top angle. Each time you get a shot, the information is put out to your form and you've got it. So you can just work your way right down real quickly. It's just in a matter of seconds. So span was another thing Noah mentioned. Here we've got it going across the roadway. It could be between the other two poles. One simple way to do it with one of our 200 models is just occupy one pole, shoot to the other, right? You might have to go up to read a tag or something anyway. So you can get that shot. Again, you can get that horizontal distance tilt compensated with that inclinometer in there. So another way to do it, if you've got the 360 model or one of the angle devices, is to do it remotely, like from across the road. Here we'll take shot 1 to the near pole across the road, and then shot 2 to the far one. And if you even shoot them at the same spots roughly on the pole there, not only will you get that span, typically the horizontal distance, but you can even get vertical distance, see an elevation change if you want to, something like that. So you can get a lot of data, all that missing line data between those 2 points. Typically they're after the span. And then clearance routines was another one you mentioned. So here we're going to go over the roadway, and we again use our missing line routine. You can do this with either the 200 or the 360 models, no problem there. So first shot, we go up to the cable. You want to pick your spot on the cable right over the center line or whatever your point of reference is on the road. Pick your spot up there, take that shot, and that will give you a good horizontal distance from where you're standing to look at, right? So theoretically now the proper point on the road is going to be right below that, the same horizontal distance away. So you can find those spots down there. So again, it's just shot 1 to the cable, shot 2 to the roadway, and then you scroll around and look at the vertical distance value now in the missing line routine, and that will be your height value.
Right, and you want to use that routine.
Yeah, leaning. We showed a shot of a leaning pole there too. This missing line routine, if you look at that vertical distance value on a leaning pole, you can get a good height. Any kind of leaning object, you can still grab a good height for it. Here, our 3-point routine might not work too well. Depending on your point of reference to it, you might not get an accurate value if you try to measure a height of that leaning object. But this missing line routine, again, if you scroll to that vertical distance value, that'll get you there. And then we use the same procedure for sag. So real easy on the field user, they just go shot 1 to the attachment point, and then shot 2 to that low point in the sag. And then they get their vertical distance value again. We'll give them that sag, a few feet or whatever it might be. Again, if it doesn't look right for some reason, they want to try another spot, they can back up 1 position to take shot 2 again, try it in another spot, look at that vertical distance value. So real easy to gather the data there.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot, Steve. Really appreciate you walking us through the measurement routines and how that's done with our lasers. And we got a lot, like I said, we got a lot of different ways to take these measurements. It's not just taking distance measurements. So we have another poll question here that we want to see if we can get some feedback on. Again, if you can use your QR code or your camera to take a quick picture of that or scan that, and it should launch a browser. and we'll take a look at that. So we're just trying to see if you guys are using any equipment different equipment that we've talked about, or other equipment that you might be using for this application. So I'll leave this up here for, we're looking to see what measuring equipment you've used, a wheel, Hastings, or height stick, or rangefinder, or anything else. Let's go ahead and just gonna see if I can do this again. My survey's back up. See if we got any questions coming up. No records yet. It looks like this might not be popping up, but these are the questions we're looking for, some answers. So using the survey, 1, 2, 3, maybe things are not popping up correctly. Do apologize for that, but if you're able to, maybe if you watch the webinar, the recording, that you're able to come back and answer some of these questions. So everybody's been talking about documentation, evidence. That's a big thing. So instead of handwriting it down, you've got mistakes out there. So we've got some different apps that our lasers interface with. So we have designed a couple apps that interface with our True Pulse line. It's called the LaserSoft Measure. You can find it on the Android or iOS stores. And with that is you're able to just take you take the measurements and you get the raw values. You can see that over in the screen grab on the right hand side there, that horizontal distance value or inclination value. But also we want to do height measurements or the missing line measurements that Steve talked about. You want to capture those values and make some notes. You're able to do that real quick with this app. Seamlessly, again, just Bluetooth into a smart device, and you're able to capture these values. Another good thing we have on here is you're able to take pictures. You can just take a quick snapshot with your smart device and just get the picture of a pole. Or we have some phone adapters that actually attach to the back of the laser. So you're using the camera of the smart device looking through our lens of the True Pulse Laser Rangefinder. And taking that, then you can see actually the scope. You can take those measurements. You can do videos. You see that populate there, and you take a picture with the value right there on the in the picture itself. So it kind of adds more evidence. People are always looking for, did you really go out there and do that? And so this is a great way. It's a free app that you can do. You can download and utilize with the True Pulse Laser Rangefinders. Another one we have, or we don't have, is out in the marketplace. It's called GeoJot Plus. It's a little more robust than our Measure app. This is a form-based app where you're able to set it up where if I need to take multiple height measurements or spans or clearances, I can make that form. I can say, hey, attachment 1, 2, whatever, put all that in there and build the form up and then just keep calling that form back up and take the measurements. Our lasers interface directly into this app, so you can do height measurements, spans, missing line routines, all into this area. This is also one where you take the photo again. You can, again, for that documentation purposes. Another good thing about this GeoJot app is if you need a geo-reference that utility pole, you can use your smart device to walk up to the pole and use the app itself and capture the position of that pole, location of that. Or what's built into is what we call laser offset mapping, is where I can stand in a safe location. We've been talking about safety throughout this whole presentation. Is I can stand in one location and use my smart device or an external receiver and get that position. And with the laser, I take a measurement over to the object, the utility pole, and with the distance and inclination value and with the compass sensor, that the software will actually calculate a remote position. So no need to walk over to each pole. You can stand at a safe location, take all the measurements you need, take all your height measurements into the form, and then do a geo-reference offset to the utility pole. And there's other apps out there. There's other devices out there that we do interface with, and that's what AllTerra team does. Is they look for that full solution. So I'm going to turn it back over to the AllTerra team, and they're going to talk about how our lasers interface with other products.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Derek. As Derek mentioned, there's a lot of different apps and ways we can go, depending on the solution that fits best with your workflow and your budget and your needs and things along those lines. So, in addition to being an LTI distributor, we're also a Trimble distributor, as Albert mentioned at the start. And so one of the applications there with Trimble being an LTI partner as well, the LTI lasers integrate with a lot of our mapping and GIS products. So going back to documenting all of that data digitally as far as the pole audits, but also incorporating high accuracy GPS to where you can take that into a GIS-based system or some sort of map-based system for management of your assets that way. And again, prioritizing your resources to manage those assets. So on the Trimble side of things, there is a data collection app called Trimble TerraFlex. We've got a variety of different products and accuracies from centimeter to sub-foot to sub-meter, depending on your needs and how those integrate with them. And then on the TerraFlex side of things, incorporating those laser offsets. So not only being able to digitally document, those height values, but being able to, from a safe environment or a more GPS suitable environment, offset our GPS position to where those actual individual poles are. So kind of the typical workflow is, starting out with your high accuracy GPS, whether it's tied into a Bluetooth GPS receiver with a smartphone or a dedicated handheld device, getting in a safe environment with a real high accuracy position, collecting your point, and then using that laser to shoot that offset, whether it's, with the 360 side of things, getting that bearing and just doing an offset that way, which you can kind of see the example here. So with the 360 and the 360R, as Derek mentioned, you have that azimuth variable included as part of the measurement that the rangefinder's collecting. So we can essentially just set up on a GPS point that we've already collected, use that laser to shoot our target, and it's going to use that distance, bearing, and inclination to offset that GPS position to that point that you've collected with your laser. Outside of the 360 model, if you run in one of the 200 series models on the TerraFlex side of things, we can do a distance offset where we are taking essentially two different positions kind of spread on separate sides of that object, and it's using those distance and inclination calculations to then offset. So you can see the visual diagram there, point A being our first collection and point B being our second, and then just doing the calculations to get that GPS position moved over. So advantages on the TerraFlex side, it's going to create one of the most usable and adaptable GNSS offset workflows. Very, very easy. The learning curve on these apps and these configurations is lower than it's ever been. So there's a lot of flexibility. It's very easy for new users to get up and get going and getting accurate results right out the gate. One of the unique factors there is it's going to combine your GNSS, your GPS accuracy with your laser accuracy measurements and give you an overall estimate of what that final position really looks like. And it gives you feedback in the field. So if you're inside your set accuracy threshold, if you're looking for, if you need everything to be sub-meter, it'll tell you on the fly if you've hit those goals. So as we discussed, you're getting better data safely, more efficiently. You're getting it digitally with greater confidence. You've got those QA/QC steps there, not only in the field, but on the desktop side. And again, being able to take that, whether it's into GIS or just a digital form report, eventually there's workflows to handle that. So it really takes that pole audit to the next level and being able to manage those assets.
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, we have some technical documents also that are on our website that walk you through this interface too. So we've got a lot of things out there to help you interface our lasers with the TerraFlex and also the Trimble products. So if you look at our website under technical documents, you can find these quick reference guides that we've designed. We'll go ahead and try another poll question. And see if this will get to some other answers here on other applications. Maybe if you just don't always do pole audits, you might do some vegetation management. We talked about that a little bit. We talked about some GIS work that Noah just mentioned about. Steve also talked about some pole loading. So they're seeing a few other applications you do use besides just the joint use or pole audit applications, seeing where our laser does fit. Our laser fits into these different applications also. So there might be a way we can you can utilize the laser rangefinder not just in the pole audit, but in these type of applications. And I'll give it a shot. We'll jump over here and take a look real quick. It might be going too fast on that. That might be where it's happening. Yep. It looks like, yeah, again, I might be moving too fast. I do apologize, but if you're watching the webinar recording, that'd be great if you can answer some of these questions and give us some feedback on that. So I do appreciate get some feedback, and then I think I'm going to turn it back over to Nick. He's going to wrap it up for us.
All right, thanks, Derek. I appreciate it. Maybe some of those end users can post the questions at the end of the webinar when we take questions. That might be a good time and area. Okay, well then that does bring us to just about the end of the presentation, guys. Great information, valuable knowledge for out there in the field. We thank you all speakers for that information. Just a quick recap. We talked at length about why to do pole audits and the assets on them. We spoke about the solutions on the market that allow us to perform those audits. We showed you how to measure more from a safe location with accuracy and efficiency. And finally, we touched on the workflows associated with pole audit and what your electronic data storage options are. Right, so we have a wide range of training materials on our YouTube channel. I welcome you to go check it out. It's www.youtube.com/LaserTechPro. There really is a wealth of good training and information up there to educate yourselves with. So I encourage you to go check that out.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff out there with the laser training ones, and just quick reference guides, and just kind of walking through the different apps that we just talked about. So even dumping some information into mobile Excel if you need to get those measurements with our laser. So a lot of different YouTube, a lot of different videos that for reference.
Right. So, and finally, please feel free to contact one of us if there's any interest or learning about our products, AllTerra solutions. There's the contact information up there. I encourage you to write it down, and please just reach out to us. Be happy to help you guys. And Noah, if you want to go ahead and conclude and open it up for any questions.
Yeah, first off, just wanted to say thank you for everyone that joined us. We definitely appreciate your time, and you know, thank you for hopping on and check out our presentation. I also just want to give a quick thanks to the LTI team for coordinating everything to get the presentation together and working with us. You know, we definitely enjoy working with you guys, and appreciate your expertise on the rangefinder and those application side of things. So thank you. And then if anyone's got any questions, if there's anything in the chat, feel free to throw that up there. We'd be happy to discuss it.
Hey, Noah, one question that I get asked a lot, particularly about that new TerraFlex interface, is the difference in accuracies when you're using the range azimuth and the range positioning methods, those two they offer. And I just, that is just such a great way you guys do it, where you, if you're using a 360 and you take that one shot, it'll display it right there, whether you're in or out of your tolerance. So there's just nothing like that, having that instant feedback in the field. And I don't think users realize how much more accuracy they can gain by that two distance method. Yeah, it's more shots, you know, it takes a little more time moving around, but boy, even with our TruePulse 200 laser, which we quote as 8 inches, it's usually better than that. You can maintain really tight accuracy, you know, sub-foot type accuracy easy with those 2 shots of distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like you mentioned, depending on which products you're utilizing, you know, the 360, you know, it's a little bit more rapid data acquisition and those measurements because it's calculating that in. The nice thing they added on the TerraFlex side that we haven't had in some of you know, prior software is even in the bearing distance offset, it'll prompt you, and you know, it'll give you that accuracy threshold if you hit it, but you can also revisit and actually take, you know, an extra shot and kind of see how your results look. So there's a live feedback going in there that gives you that ability to kind of QA/QC yourself from the get-go. minimizing, again, like you said, going back and out and visiting those sites. On the distance, yeah, definitely going to be the most accurate of the two, especially if you pair it with something like the 200X. Then it's just true range and inclination measurements, which are going to be the most accurate components of those LTI products. So yeah, like you said, extra steps there, but the accuracy you get out of it, you can really achieve some pretty amazing overall results with those two options.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're just checking with the team right now to see if any questions came in through our chat. I was gonna see, just check here. Appreciate that feedback, guys. It's really good stuff on that workflow. And let's see. One question came, I think one question is we talked about we were talking about the compass being in the TruePulse 360, and is kind of when do you do a field calibration on that? Is a question, or do you need to do one, and when do you do a field calibration on a compass with the TruePulse 360 model?
Right, well, we've got that, again, live feedback for the user. Nothing like that when you're in the field, to have that instant feedback when your compass is out of calibration. You'll see that AZ indicator flashing on the TruePulse 360 models. That means either the temperature has changed too drastically since you last calibrated, or the battery voltage has dropped too much since you last calibrated, or it'll even go off if you undo the battery cover or something like that, because you might have put fresh batteries in, so it wants you to calibrate then for those fresh batteries. So the unit will indicate right when you need to do it. And then as a standard practice, of course, you want to do it routinely. When you get to a job site, it just takes a minute. You want to find a nice spot free from any local attractions, face north, and then go through the motions, and real easy to do. So those are usually your indications.
Great, yeah, and we have some videos on that too on our YouTube channel about just walking you through how to do that calibration routine. Like you said, it's pretty quick and easy to do that. Another question, talking about all the height measurements and the accuracies and everything, and we had different lasers with different accuracies, but does that accuracy, is range accuracy, how does that to be taken over to when we do that 3-point height measurements? How is that accuracy taken into account?
The range accuracy will be depending on the model. A little coarser with the TruePulse 200/360, better with the 200X, and then best with the 200H. So you've got that distance accuracy you're kind of fixed with, and then it's just the two inclination measurements at from 1/4 of a degree, again a little coarser with the TruePulse models, up to 1/10 with the X and the H models. So it depends on that top angle. Typically is really your where you can introduce your most error. And if you're very far away from the object, you're going to get a lot of error built up in those tilt measurements. Or if you're really steep underneath the object, like your top angle is over 45 degrees, then you can get a lot of error built up with that top angle. But if you keep it under 45 degrees, if you stay as close as you can to your targets, then you'll get nice tight accuracies with them. And again, they'll grade up with the different instrument models. And I've got a white paper that goes over, what we found, a good average is what to look for in those height accuracies. So you can look for that on our website.
Did I lose you? Hey, thanks, Steve. Looks like I had a little internet hiccup right there at the end, of course. Well, working from home. I think the last question I see here, I can take this one, is talking about Bluetooth communication. Which models do interface with iOS devices? One of all our models have Bluetooth modules built in. The ones we showed you today, and they all interface with Android and Windows. Now for the iOS, we have the TruePulse 200X that interfaces with iOS, and then also the TruePoint 200H that interfaces with iOS. So those are the two models that we do interface with the iOS devices, but all of the units that we showed today do have Bluetooth communication. So utilizing some of the apps we talked about, interfaces just directly into that. So it looks like everybody, it looks like there's no other questions that came through. I really want to appreciate or thank the AllTerra team jumping on. It's been a really good partnership, and appreciate your guys' support out there, and really getting on here and talking about your expertise out there in the field about this application. And Steve, thanks a lot for jumping on here, and of course you, Nick, running the show. So, and the team behind the scenes. Until our next webinar, thanks everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thanks, everyone.